First alert meteorologist Maher continuing to track our nor'easter that is bringing the most significant snowfall to many portions of the region that we have seen thus far this winter. And it continues to snow throughout much of western Mass. In fact, you look at the live Doppler radar and you can see a band of heavier snowfall now in portions of Berkshire County in the Pittsfield area, also extending into portions of northwestern Hampden County and into portions of central Hampshire County. Even here in the Springfield area, we had gone over to rain earlier this morning. Now we're seeing a transition back over to snow. Flakes are starting to mix in, and I think eventually we will go over to all snow. And the reason for that, the area of low pressure is lifting on off to the northeast, and we're starting to see those winds now transition to a northerly direction. The winds are going to continue to pick up as well as we make our way through the afternoon. Perhaps another coating of 2 inches here in the valley. The hill towns, about another 3 to 6 inches. Of course, you can stay up to date with our free Western Mass News streaming app. You can get that by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen now. And for those on the app, we continue to track this major nor'easter that has brought over 2 inches of accumulation to portions of the higher elevations. And in fact, here in the Springfield area, while snowfall amounts have been on the lighter side and we actually saw a transition over to rain, well, now we're starting to see a little bit more in the way of flakes mixing in. In fact, we do have some moderate to heavy snowfall south of the Pittsfield area, extending into portions of Hampden and Hampshire County. Here in the Springfield area, starting to see more in the way of flakes mixing in. And I think as we continue to make our way through the afternoon, we're actually going to see a transition back over to all snow. And the reason for that is our area of low pressure continues to lift on off to the northeast, and we're starting to see that wind turn to a more northerly direction. Not only that, but we're starting to see the wind speeds begin to pick up. We have a northerly wind at 13 here in Springfield. Westfield has a northerly wind at 18. As we continue to push deeper into the afternoon to the evening, the winds will gradually turn to the northwest. You're seeing that northwesterly wind in Berkshire counties, but we tend to get a downsloping wind off of the Berkshires here in the valley. So once we start to see that wind transition over to the northwest, we'll start to see precipitation for us begin to wind on down, but it will continue to snow in the Berkshires through the afternoon and even into the evening. Visibility is down in those higher elevations. Orange, a mile of visibility, North Adams and Pittsfield. We have 3 miles of visibility in Westfield, 5 miles of visibility here in Springfield. Again, for the last several hours, we've been dealing with mainly rain on our Monarch Place Skycam, but now we're starting to see more in the way of flakes beginning to mix in, and I don't think it'll be much longer before we see that transition back over to all snow. Now, the good news is main roads are just wet, and even some of the secondary roadways that have been treated are just wet. So even though we're going to go back over to snow, I don't think we're going to see any accumulation on the roadways right away because we have that stronger March sun angle. However, as the sun begins to set, that colder air begins to move on in. I think that's where we're going to have to watch for the possibility that we could see the roads getting a bit of a snow coating back on them, and that could lead to certainly some slick spots as we head towards the evening commute. So if you are going to be out and about this evening, still a good idea to give yourself plenty of extra time. Now, as far as snowfall totals thus far, the jackpot amounts, if you can see, they have been in the higher elevations. Windsor in Berkshire County, 28 inches. Plainfield, 26. Hawley, Savoy, 24. Goshen up to 21. Snowfall totals a bit lighter along the I-91 corridor. This has really been an elevation-driven event as far as these higher snowfall amounts are concerned. The snow a bit lighter in consistency up there as well. Here in the valley, we've seen more of a pasty, heavy, wet snow. And of course, we've also seen that accumulate on trees and power lines, and that has led to power outages throughout much of western Mass as well. And the concern is as we make our way through the afternoon and into the evening, we're going to have that snow still on the trees and power lines. Winds are going to start to pick up as well. So I'm afraid that the power outage numbers may only go up as we push deeper into the afternoon and into the evening. So again, winds are 28 inches, Rowe up to 27. Plainfield 26, Hawley at 24, Heath coming in at 22, Carlin, Middlefield also coming in at 22 inches. So some locations near and even over 2 feet of snow. And in a lot of these locations, it's still snowing, and they still may tack on another 3 to 6 inches before it all starts to wind on down later tonight. So we continue with the winter storm warnings for all of western Mass. They also extend to Litchfield and Hartford County in Connecticut, Worcester County out towards the Boston area as well, southeastern Mass, southern Rhode Island, southwestern Connecticut under winter weather advisories. Right now, these are due to expire at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. But I think as precipitation begins to wind on down later tonight, we may gradually see some of these get dropped a little bit earlier. But right now, the winter storm warnings continue for all of western Mass, and these are in effect until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. We actually were under winter weather advisories for portions of Hampshire and Hampden County earlier this morning. Those were then upgraded to those winter storm warnings. So as we take a look at year 24, it does show the snow filling back in as we push through the afternoon. I do think it's snowing throughout all of western Mass as we head towards the evening commute. We'll have to watch to see if some of those treated roadways do become a bit snow covered as the sun begins to set. We lose that heating of the day. By 8 p.m., starting to see that snow begin to break up in portions of the valley. But Berkshire County, you're probably going to be the last to see that snow come to an end. In fact, it could linger through the evening into the first part of the overnight before it finally begins to wind on down as we head on into the overnight and into tomorrow morning. But even though tomorrow looks like it is going to be a dry day, we're still going to be dealing with winds gusting 35, 40 miles per hour at times. So it will be a blustery day around here. Temperatures tomorrow get back into the upper 30s to around 40. So we will be seeing some melting take place as we head through your Wednesday, and that will also continue right on through the end of the week. So temperatures which are in the mid-30s going to drop back down near that freezing mark as we head through the afternoon. Overnight lows tonight dropping down into the upper 20s and lower 30s. So as far as additional snowfall amounts on top of what we've already seen, Springfield area, point south, maybe another coating to an inch or two. You get a little bit west of the Springfield area, Westfield, Southwick, Agawam, maybe another 1 to 3 inches into portions of central and eastern Hampshire County and into portions of central and southern Franklin County, about another 1 to 3 inches. The hill towns, though, where it has been snowing basically since this storm system began, could tack on another 3 to 6 inches. So by the time this all winds on down, we could be talking about some areas picking up over 2.5 feet of snow from this system. And then conditions will gradually start to improve during the overnight. Though, as I mentioned, Berkshire County, you may hang on to that snow a bit later this evening into the first part of the overnight before it finally begins to wind on down. Now, the winds gradually starting to pick up, and this is the other concern as we push through the afternoon and into the evening. You see Worcester having a wind gust to 30, Boston to 39. These wind gusts are going to start to advance towards the west. We could see winds gusting 30, 35, even 40 miles per hour at times. When you combine that with the fact that some locations have several inches of heavy wet snow on trees and power lines, certainly going to have to watch for the fact that we could be dealing with more tree damage and power outage numbers only going up as we push through the afternoon and into the evening. And even tomorrow, we're still going to be dealing with some rather blustery conditions around here as that area of low pressure slowly begins to move away. In fact, even as we head on through the evening, winds gusting 30, 35, perhaps even near 40 miles per hour. And it will be a similar story tomorrow. Winds during the morning gusting 25 to 30, and then the winds start to ramp back up as we head on into the afternoon. Still going to be a bit breezy around here on Thursday as well, but the winds will not be as strong as that area of low pressure slowly begins to move on off to the east and to the northeast. So first alert weather day continues through tonight. Rain going back over to snow, another coating to an inch or two here in the valley. It's in the hill towns. That's where I think we're going to continue to see those higher snowfall amounts with another 2 to 6 inches. And then the winds ramping up with those gusts up near 30, 40 miles per hour at times, which is going to only cause the power outage numbers to continue to go up. But if you're tired of the snow and everything, a little bit of good news. 6 days until spring officially arrives. That's on Monday at 5:26 p.m. So temperatures right now in the lower 30s throughout much of western Mass, and with that northerly wind bringing in some colder air, I expect to see these numbers dropping by a couple of degrees as we make our way through the afternoon and into the evening. So satellite and radar starting to see that snow begin to come back into the Springfield area as well. Our area of low pressure moving on off to the east and to the northeast. It will continue to make its way to the northeast into the Gulf of Maine as we make our way through the afternoon and into the evening, pulling in that colder air. Right now, the winds out of the north. Gradually, we will see that wind transition over to the northwest, and for us, that usually means we get a downsloping here in the valley, so precipitation will start to wind on down here as we make our way into the evening hours as that area of low pressure begins to move on off gradually to the east and to the northeast. But we're still going to hang on to the windy conditions this evening and into the day on Wednesday, as that system is just going to be slow to pull away from the region. And we'll even deal with some blustery conditions as we head on into the latter part of the week. Both Thursday and Friday are still going to be dealing with some rather breezy conditions around here. But at least we will begin to dry things out. And with temperatures in the upper 40s to around 50, certainly going to be seeing some melting take place as we head through the next couple of days. That is a check of your